Welcome to another episode of Beyond Your Career Struggles and Setback. Our case study today is David. Meet David. He comes with 10 years of work experience, is currently leading a major account, one of the best performers, highly productive. You can in fact call him a very good asset to any organization he's associated with. But as on today, David is not his usual self. Today you will find David with a very confused state of mind. What you see on your screen is something that's going on in his head right now. He's in a complete deep mess, constantly questioning himself. He does not really find himself engaged at work, and he's toying with an idea whether to stay or whether he should quit. He's also not aware what he's supposed to do next. And the very reason all of this is going on in his head, the background for that is he has missed his promotion this year. Not just that, his feedback that he received from his supervisor had been extremely negative, wherein he has been told about a lot of gaps that his boss, his supervisor, wants him to improve on. This has put David into a completely different mindset, and he's constantly questioning himself as to where exactly did he went wrong. That from a steady 10 years of experience with 3 promotions, where did he landed up now? And thus, David presently is just confused as what he needs to do next. With this tough time, David decides that he should reach out for help. So this is one of the best things he did, was he understood that he cannot really resolve the crisis that he was in. And he reached out for seeking help. And thus, together, when he hired me as his coach, we began our coaching journey. The goal here was to assist David move beyond his current struggle, which he actually was not really able to articulate. So in order to do so, I would like to walk you through how together me and David were able to come out of the mess that David was in. One of the first things that we did, and I call it the discover phase. This is very simple. In fact, this is something like, helping you understand our audiences, how really coaching is done. So in the discover phase, one of the things that I've asked David to work on was to first get to understand and dig deeper into identifying and exploring the real root cause of the current state that David was in. Because friends, if I were to remind you, David was not really even able to articulate what exactly went wrong. Not just that he missed the promotion, but one of the things that really bothered him was a negative feedback and lot of gaps that his supervisor asked him to work on. And he was very confused because he never thought in his wildest of dreams that he would get such a feedback. So our journey began when I gave certain tools and techniques to help David deep dive. Now, in these deep dive sessions, typically what we do is first understand the various recent episodes or events at work from where it all actually started. Because oftentimes it may so happen that we are part of a particular event or an experience, but we don't really pay too much attention to it, or do we understand the consequence of it. So I asked David to first sit and deep dive and identify those incidents of the past 1 year in his performances where he felt or he didn't really give his 100% to, or an area where he was not really fully engaged at work, or any other kind of small or big event or a negative experience that he had. So David started his journey discovering that, which then helped him also understand the various trigger points during the course of one complete year he had, which led to a certain behavior he demonstrated in the job. And then I helped and assisted David to connect the reasons he found, the triggers that led him to demonstrate certain behaviors which were not likely of what he's supposed to be doing at a level where he holds a 10 plus years of work experience and a very good track record of performance. From here, we then moved on. Our journey was to this phase. This is called the deduce phase, where of everything that we found, it was huge. There were a lot of light bulb moments for David because all these 1 year, many a times he thought perhaps he was not really at fault. But while he discovered, he wrote, he recalled, he thought through, and he worked through the several tools I shared and techniques I taught him, the, the deduce phase gave him the whole data in front of him, from which I then asked him to identify and understand what exactly was real and what were those assumptions out of which he was operating. Friends, many a times it does happen that we assume a lot, and this was a phase where David got to learn that the track record of promotion he had and the mindset and the beliefs that got imbibed in his mind because of his past rock solid performances, of the help he doesn't think he ever needed, and the sense of entitlement or a kind of belief that he is well aware of how he should move forward. Along with this, one of the things that David explored and identified was that 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, he still was in a junior cadre. But now with this 10 plus years of work experience, he had hit a mid-management level where the expectations of his performance and of his being was very different from where he started. This was brought to light in this particular phase when he started the second uh, method of reasoning and introspecting. So the reasoning and introspecting is to understand and introspect the assumptions he held. What exactly was at play? What were those beliefs he held about his own position, his self-worth, he himself as an individual, his success rate, and what was those key traits he was not paying attention to, specifically how he came across to his other colleagues and team members. Finally, in this phase, I also asked David to create a solution plan, and this was crafted by him alone. I was just a facilitator. So he came up understanding the reality versus the assumptions, the introspection through much more details to David and made him understand that where exactly he got derailed, what really led to it, and what can really help him get back on track. So the solution was a 3-month long plan. And the next step, having found that solution, was then to get into the deploy phase, which was to get into action and get that plan with some timelines so that he achieved the results that he was trying to envision. Now here, friends, this is basically what this was the goal of what exactly we wanted from David. And in this, one of the biggest things the David's exploration got him to was he was now at a mid-level position, a mid-level which was very close to a seniority. And this was something, a different ball game from what he has been performing as an individual, as a person. And this was precisely also that was reflected in the feedback that his supervisor gave him, which initially actually offended David. He couldn't really take those gaps, those negative feedback. But having done this entire work, David understood that he really, if we want to exceed and move ahead in his career, be more engaged at work, and work on his leadership traits, he really needs to demonstrate that he's operating at the next level. And that requires him to pause, reflect, and think about what are the several ways that he could sit and plan the competence he need, or the behaviors or leadership traits that he needs to get trained on. So this eventually led to David creating a much more larger long-term plan, which helped him not just correct his present self, but also develop a kind of blueprint for his journey ahead. And this was one of the finest assignments I was able to finish off with David, where he figured out what not just what exactly went wrong, but also what is his career path ahead and what really he needs to do and not do to move ahead in his career progression. Well, friends, this was a short, brief story of David that I shared with you today. If you ever feel yourself very similar to just being like David, or you finding yourself being stuck in similar situation or similar sort of confusion in mind where perhaps you're not aware or not really able to articulate what's really going wrong in your career side, connect and get coached. Thank you.